Well, you don't have to be in the height of fashion to root for your team on a sunny Sunday afternoon. The Mets and Phillies wrapping up their series at Citi Field, and the Mets trying to escape without getting swept at home for the first time this season. Fans young and old making their way to the ballpark today. At Citi Field in New York, Pix 11 Sports presents New York Mets baseball. Today the Mets play the Philadelphia Phillies. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez with you today as the Mets and Phillies wrap up their three-game series. The Phillies have won the first two games of this series. They got shutout pitching from Kyle Kendrick on Friday night. Then yesterday, a close game broken open on home runs on consecutive pitches for a couple of young Philly outfielders that they've been waiting for to excel.
Well, these are the two guys, Dominic Brown and John Mayberry Jr., who they've been kind of counting on to be the guys that will fill in for the aging Utley and Rollins and Ryan Howard. The Phillies have had a great run, but like all general managers, you've got to keep recycling your talent coming up, much like the Mets with Duda and Davis. All four of those players are critical for the future of both teams.
And so the Phillies, who have been struggling to score, now all of a sudden are getting offense from those guys. The Mets, meanwhile, are struggling to score themselves after a hot start. On the mound today for the Mets is John Neese, who will pitch for the first time since getting struck near the ankle on a line drive his last time out.
Well, that was off the bat of Mark Ellis, who went on to hit 2 home runs in that ballgame. Now remember, Neese had 2 starts on that horrific road trip in the cold weather, and he did not acclimate well to the cold. So I kind of discredit his numbers. He's 2-1 on the year, 5-5 a career in his young career, and 14 starts against the Phillies.
And on the other side, the left-hander Cole Hamels still looking for his first win of the season.
Wow, first time in his career. He's gone 0-3. He's pitched better his last 3 starts, actually very good. 2 no decisions and a loss. He had 1 really bad outing his second time out against the Royals, where he gave up 8 runs. That's why the ERA is elevated. He's had trouble with the Mets, 5-10 lifetime, but 2-0 last year against the Metsies.
And he gets his catcher back today. Carlos Ruiz will play his first game of the season for the Phillies. Mets and Phils on a beautiful day at Citi Field. Come on back. All the action today on Pix 11. Citi Field. Vote on Mets.com to be eligible for a special ticket offer and a meet and greet opportunity with David Wright. Vote early, vote often, and vote Mets at Mets.com. Around the Majors brought to you by Delta Keep Climbing. The Yankees continue to fill the disabled list. Ivan Nova and Francisco Cervelli, the last two to go on the DL. Matt Moore continues his great start, now 5-0, 1.13 for Tampa Bay, as he struck out 9 over 6 innings, beat the White Sox 10-4 last night. And Jonathan Sanchez suspended 6 games for hitting Alan Craig with a pitch. So there's your Around the Majors on a Sunday afternoon. Mets trying to avoid getting swept by the Phillies. John Neese on the mound against Cole Hamels. First pitch coming up from Citi Field. USA.com.
Well, Neese has pitched well against the Phillies at home. That's there, right there in front of you. You can read that. And the home run derby, I guess we can say that Hamels is how we've talked about his 5-10 career record against the Mets, and he's given up at least one home run. Ouch.
Starting lineup brought to you by your local Tri-Honda dealer. We cut you off before your last key.
That's all right.
That was really not nice of us.
We'll get back to it.
A little different lineup for Charlie Manuel today with a couple of wins under his belt. Howard will sit. That was the third note. Kevin Franson gets the start at first base. Freddie Galvis just his 4th career start in the outfield as he gets the start in left field against John Neese, who makes his 6th start of the year.
Well, John hit the line drive. The bruise off the ankle. He's fine. Did not miss a side session. Did not miss a day. He's right on the rotation mark there. 5-5 lifetime against these Phillies. Last year, 2-1 against them. And the Toyota Metropolitan defense. Buck has been a workhorse back behind that plate, has he not? Duda's out there in left field. Well, Lagares, gets a start out in center field again. That infield has been pretty steady right there. That is the Mets' regular infield, and our old teammate Juan Samuel, first base coach for the Phillies, and of course the Hall of Famer. I always think of him in terms of as a Cub MVP in 1984 in the National League, Ryan Sandberg.
Of course, he came up in the Phillies organization before Dallas Green stole him for the Phillies. By the way, I hear Dallas has a new book coming out, which I'll be very interested to read. Here's Jimmy Rollins to lead things off. Of course, Dallas led the Phillies to the World Championship in 1980. Later managed for the Mets.
I'd like to know about his playing career. He pitched more than a few years for the Phillies, and he was a part of that 64 Philly team that collapsed late. That could be a great read.
Rollins 3 for 7 in the series. And Nice's first pitch of the afternoon is fouled back. And, you know, Dallas Green threw the pitch that Jimmy Pearsall hit for his 100th career home run, and then Pearsall ran around the bases backwards.
Really?
Knowing Dallas the way I do, I'm shocked that he didn't fight him right on the spot. Call strike to Rollins, and it's 0-2.
Or he didn't get a chance to get at him with a plunk him the next time he faced him, because the Mets released Pearsall after that, I believe.
And the curveball from Nice bounces, and it's 1-2. John, 2-1 on the year, 26 innings, 29 hits, an alarming high walk total of 12. In fact, in his last start, as you look at Kevin Franzen on deck, he walked 3 in an inning before he got hurt. Murphy down to a knee to play the ground ball, and that's the first out of the afternoon. So Rollins retired, 1 out and nobody on. And now Franzen, the former Giant, in his second year with the Phillies, did a great job for them in a bench role last year. Hit .338 in part-time duty. Just his third start of this season. Franzen getting the start at first base today. Ryan Howard has had spectacularly bad numbers against John Nice, and so he gets the day off today.
1 for 15 with 7 strikeouts. And Franzen, excuse me, is, you know, the numbers are tiny, but he's 3 for 4 off Nice career.
Little dribbler, tough play for Nice. The turning throw, and he hits the runner. Franzen will stay at first base. Franzen gets drilled by Nice's throw, and he's aboard with 1 out.
Well, fortunate that it hit Franzen, because this would have gone down the right field line. He would have gone to second base. Even though Murph was backing up, he wasn't there in time. And he knew he had to rush the throw here, Jonathan. And inside the runner there.
Well, they're going to charge an error on Nice, which I think is a very tough error. He would have had trouble throwing him out even with a perfect throw.
I tell you, that's a tough error right there. Jeez, you want a base hit on that if you're a hitter.
So here's Utley with 1 out and 1 on.
Here's Ryan.
Utley 2 for 9 in the series. Hitting an even .300 for the year. Off to a good start after missing the first half of last season with recurring knee problems.
And Nice has had a little dominance on Utley this year so far. 2 for 15. Lifetime Utley against Jonathan.
And he falls behind Utley 2-0. You see Nice hitting 91 with the fastball. His fastball velocity has been a little down this year, but as Keith was talking about, a couple of those starts came in the cold weather in Minnesota and Colorado, and you kind of have to chuck the early part of the season out for John.
He was the one that got caught in the rotation where he had to pitch twice in the cold, in the extreme Arctic regions we were in.
You see Utley's career numbers against the Mets: 29 home runs, not quite up to Ryan Howard's total. Howard hit his 36th against the Mets here on Friday night.
Howard drove in 2 runs yesterday too, so everybody's talking about the home runs.
Smack to center field. Lagares got a late break, gets back there to make the catch. That's the second time we've seen Lagares not make a perfect read on a ball and yet recover to make the catch.
Well, top of your screen, check the jump on the center fielder. He went crossways and then said, uh-oh, this ball's hit a little bit better. And there's a case right here where the friendly confines of Citi Field are a detriment to the offense of Philly, who rely on home runs. Not so much this year, they've been hitting them, but that ball probably is out at Citizens Bank Park.
So Lagares making just his second start in center field, ran that one down. Now Michael Young has had a terrific series. 3 hits Friday night, 3 more yesterday. A couple of those infield hits, but nonetheless, he's up to .353 on the year, 6th in the National League. And great career numbers now against the Mets. If you go back to the games he played against the Mets in interleague play for Texas, 57 career at bats against the Mets. He's hitting .439 with 5 home runs. Young now with 2,260 career hits, and it just seems as though he gets one every time up against the Mets. Neese reps that cutter on the outside corner, and it's 2-1. Well, there's Carlos Ruiz getting ready for his first at bat of the season. Sat out the first 25 games with a drug suspension. The slow curve misses 3-1. And everybody to a man who plays for or follows the Phillies believes that Carlos Ruiz is the heart and soul of that team.
And to clarify his suspension, it was amphetamine use, not steroids.
More specifically, Adderall that he was using without the proper exemption.
I have there's a big distinction between amphetamines and steroids, in my mind, in my opinion, which I'm supposed to voice on the air.
And you do it very well. But it certainly raises the question, because Chooch had his best offensive season by far last year, and you wonder, was the fact that he was using that stimulant, however much he was using it, have an impact on his performance?
Well, was he doing it every day?
Who knows?
You know, you don't know that.
But you know that he was 33 last year and put up career numbers in every category. Now 34 years old, as Neese walks young, and so Ruiz will come up with 2 men on. And you can hear the Philly fans in the crowd starting the Chooch chant. He's become a beloved figure in Philadelphia. The Phillies designated Humberto Quintero for assignment to make room for Ruiz. 325 last year, 16 home runs, 68 RBIs, 394 on base percentage, 540 slugging percentage. Just a great season all the way around for a guy who also does a wonderful job handling the Phillies pitching staff.
Throws well.
And takes a fastball strike from Neese.
He's playing in a nice ballpark to hit. Not taking anything away from his accomplishments. He's a nice player.
Ball and a strike to Ruiz. While Ruiz was away over their first 25 games, Philly catchers hit a combined .209, 26th in the major leagues. So Charlie Manuel happy to have Ruiz back in his lineup. The Phillies right now 9th in the National League in runs scored, although they've certainly looked a lot better swinging the bats in this series. 13 runs in the first 2 games. He's trying to get out of first inning trouble, and he jams Ruiz, and he gets the ground ball down to Wright, who bobbles it, recovers, but not in time. David Wright had gone 77 consecutive games without an error, and on the most routine of plays, bobbles the ball for his first error of the season.
And wouldn't you know it, too, on a day game. It just seems the cobwebs are on the player's head. You got to get the cobwebs out early. Very routine. He used 2 hands. And those things happen. And to the credit of Chooch, Ruiz, he hustled down that line.
David Wright's last error came last August 1st in San Francisco. So that's 3 full months of baseball without an error. And now David has been charged with 1. The Mets have committed 2 errors in the opening inning. And that gives Dominic Brown a chance with the bases loaded. Brown unloaded a 3-run homer off Robert Carson, a left-hander, in the game yesterday.
And he got a hanging breaking ball.
And Neese misses outside with a cutter for ball 1. Well, the 77 games without an error was the longest streak for a third baseman in Mets history.
All good things must come to an end, so they say. David's defense has just been spectacular.
So strange, though. I mean, you can't have an easier play.
Correct. I hear you.
Franzen at third, Young at second, and Ruiz at first with 2 down. So Neese forced to work that much harder here in the opening inning. This is the first time Brown has ever faced Neese. Usually he sits against left-handers. And takes a nice looking fastball for a strike, 1-2.
Jonathan's got a good little fastball today.
Well, he's been averaging just 89.1 with his fastball. It's down about 1.5 miles from last year, but again, the cold weather might have had something to do with that.
I kind of throw all those numbers away.
Here's the 1-2, and it's fouled away.
Not a good pitch right there. Well, start a new streak, Captain.
Mets had a 5-game errorless streak snapped yesterday, and now they've made 2 in the first inning today. Yesterday, Baxter dropped a fly ball. Little number right at the plate, and all Buck has to do is step on home plate for the force play, and that ends the inning. So a couple of errors, a walk, and the Phillies leave 3. Mets come to bat in the bottom of the first against Cole Hamels with no score.
That's a rough one.
Hitting third and David Wright hitting fourth. That didn't work out so well, but more so than that, it's the left-hander on the mound today against the Mets that causes Terry Collins to change his batting order, and there is that lefty.
Well, Tejada's going to lead off, as you saw, and the 5-10 lifetime record in 21 starts against the Mets. But like I said, with 4 starts last year, he was 2-0. 91 career wins for Mr. Hamel, 29 years of age. And take a look at the Toyota Philadelphia Philly defense. Utley, of course, solid at second base. Rollins, Gold Glover. Young, a Gold Glover. Franzen, only his 2nd start of the year at first base, 6th of his career, and out in left field. Freddie Galvis, his 4th start out there.
Well, the Mets have used 6 different leadoff hitters this year. This is the 4th go-round for Ruben Tejada as they try to figure out how to best staff the top of their batting order. Tejada's hitting 4 straight games, and Hamel's first offering is well outside for ball 1.
I've just noticed that Ruben's swing has been a little long. He tends to do that when he kind of struggles and then as a result hits the ball in the air. And we all know that Ruben is not a power hitter by any stretch of the imagination. He's a line drive hitter. He has to hit the ball line drives on the ground.
Although he came just inches from hitting his first home run of the year yesterday, right off the top of the wall in left field.
That's only good in horseshoes and hand grenades.
Exactly. Well, it was good for a double, so it's like half a home run. There's a call strike, and it's 2-1. Because you get leaners and horseshoes, so hitting one off the orange stripe at the top of the fence, that's almost like a leaner. Daniel Murphy on deck, then David Wright as the Mets try and get off to a fast start against Hamels, who beat him twice last year. Something he's had trouble with over the years. This one's driven to the gap in left center. Another extra base hit for Tejada. And Ruben pulls into second base with his 6th double of the year.
Fastball right down the pipe. Cutter. Didn't get it in enough. Nice hitting, Ruben. Nice short swing. This is the swing I like from Ruben. No wasted motion. Gets the bat right there. What's today's terminology? Square it up. Okay, fine. Nice swing. Good balance. No wasted motion. Good follow through. Good start of your Sunday afternoon Wago.
Consider it squared. Here's Daniel Murphy, 0 for 8 in this series. All of that batting 3rd in the order, now back in the 2-hole where he's been most of the season. And hits one on the ground to the right side. Utley with a sliding stop gets the out, but Murphy with a productive out gets Tejada over to 3rd.
Well, Murph not wasting any time. The first pitch he sees of this beautiful afternoon here at Citi Field.
So that creates an RBI opportunity for David Wright. David's 3 for 8 in this series, has driven in a run.
And lifetime against Hamels, David is 17 for 52. That's 327. But 3 doubles, a triple, and 4 home runs.
Part of the reason why Hamels is 5-10 lifetime against the Mets. David starts the day 5th in the National League in on-base percentage at .433. He's had a terrific month of April. And the Phillies will play the infield back, conceding the run on a ground ball. And a first pitch changeup from Hamels, 0-1.
Everybody went to bed early last night, I think. They're coming out of the chute, swinging. I would have had to take the first pitch in a day game like this.
And quickly, Hamels ahead 0-2. Changeup and then a fastball.
Beat him inside with that one. That's what they like to pitch, David. And up, not down. David likes that ball downstairs.
Tejada at third with 1 out. Hamels one of the rare pitchers who works from the center of the rubber. Ball 2 strikes to right. Most pitchers, one way or another, are going to move to the side and try and gain an advantage, but not Hamels.
Interesting toe plate there on his back foot. You see the toe plate? It's kind of blocked by that wire running across from the screen. Remember the old-fashioned toe plates that had the metal front and then the rawhide on top? And you just have to have the lace holes. You put them under the laces so it'd keep them attached. But now they've got so many things that they can adhere to the surface of the shoe.
Use that hard plastic now.
Yep.
2-2 from Hamels, and right fouls away the fastball.
Well, you'd think with all the shoes that the players get today, you wouldn't need a toe plate. You can just run through a start and get a new pair of shoes. But you know what? It's a pain in the neck to break in shoes. Cleats. Pain in the neck.
Some guys like wearing new ones all the time, but most players like to break them in and feel more comfortable in them. Line to left field, and that's in for a base hit. Tejada comes down the line to score, and the Mets have a 1-0 lead. David Wright with his 19th run batted into the season.
Well, he tried to get a little cute with a breaking ball. And where do you throw a breaking ball? Downstairs. You don't want to hang a breaking ball, and that's where David likes it. It's in a good spot. It's down and in. That's just good hitting.
First run of the game brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'.
David's really swung the bat well this year, I must say. And he hasn't hit for power. Had the 2 home run game in Denver. And that's it. But you know what? He's been productive. I love the way he's swinging.
It's very much like the early part of the season last year. He wasn't hitting a lot of home runs early, but he got his swing going the first part of the year, and then the home runs began to come. Well, Cole Hamels has been behind more often than not this year. It's one of the reasons why the Phillies are 0-5 in his starts. John Buck just 2 for 22 lifetime against Hamels, but both the hits have been home runs. And he homered his last time up yesterday in a lopsided game, led off the 9th inning with a home run off Jeremy Horst.
This was late in the ball game. They count number 8. What an April. And Bryce Harper hit his 9th yesterday. How about that? A young man. Got three more days in April.
I guess the sophomore jinx hasn't applied yet to Mr. Harper.
Very good. I don't know if Hamels realizes it, but he threw fastballs by David and then by Buck. He's been hurt on the cutter to Tejada, the breaking ball curve to right. His fastball's been very effective.
Got up to 93 early in the game. Right at first and 1 out, and Hamels checks in on him. Dave's been doing a lot of running early in the season. Had just 15 steals all of last year, 6 already this year, tied for 2nd in the National League.
And he stole 2 on opening day, if you recall. And I just don't want David to wear himself out. It's important for David to be, in the second half of the season, to be strong with a big push.
And Buck takes the cutter just inside 2-2. Well, the Mets are going to Miami after the game today.
See the home run Giancarlo Stanton hit?
I missed it, but you told me.
First of the year, 472 feet. Well, he homered his first time up today. Just in time for the Mets to get there.
Pitch around him. There's no one else in the lineup.
Well, that's what they've been doing. I guess the Cubs forgot. Oh, and Buck with a big cut goes down swinging for the second out.
Well, there you go again. I tell you, fastball. He is throwing hard today. Up and in, tied him up.
Hamels this year has averaged 91.2 with his fastball, but he's throwing a lot harder than that this afternoon. So 2 out right still at first with a run already in. And here's Lucas Duda, 1 for 6 in this series.
And Lucas 1 for 10 career against Hamels in his young career. Lucas has had good success. He stays in on lefties. I like his approach with left-handers.
Both Duda and Davis in the lineup today against the left-hander. Young retreats down toward the tarp and runs out of room.
I lost sight of that pop-up here.
Duda was running it out. He'll come on back.
I wasn't sure if it was going to stay in play or not.
Well, neither was Duda. That's why he was running it out. Cole Hamels now 29 years old. NLCS and World Series MVP in 2008 when the Phillies won it all. 91 wins, 63 losses in his career. Jams Duda, and it's 0-2.
Good pitch, good fastball in, good cut. It doesn't seem that long ago, Gary. Remember at Shea Stadium when Hamels was much younger and Delgado, he had that horrible outing against the Mets when Delgado took him off the scoreboard and really got rocked. And from that point on, his career has been in an upward arc. So he hit bottom. The only way to go is up.
94 from Hamels that time, and it's 1-2. Well, the Phillies have not been able to ride their horses so far this year, so to speak. They've got the 3 ace starting pitchers in Hamels, Halladay, and Lee, and they're 4-11 in the game that trio starts. Halladay's looked better lately. So has Hamels, for that matter, as he misses with the slider. I mean, Hamels, the last 3 starts, is a 2.57 ERA. They just haven't won for him.
They last time through the rotation, starting with Hamels, and then there's Lee, and then Halladay. They didn't get a win out of that turn through the rotation. Or ironically, they got it from Kendrick and Pettibone.
Well, Kendrick was fantastic Friday night. Jonathan Pettibone got his first big league win here yesterday. 2-2 now to Duda. And he grounds one toward the hole. Franzen with a nice diving stop. They gain a little defense with Howard out of the lineup and Franzen playing first base. So he takes a base hit away from Duda. But David Wright's base hit drives in Ruben Tejada with the first run of the game. And hands John Neese a 1-0 lead as we go to the second. Nissan's best choice sales event. Shop ChooseNissan.com.
Well, they're talking it over. Pitching coach Rick Duby and Hamels and Carlos Ruiz. And if I'm catching, I'm telling Cole Hamels, your fastball, you've got it today. You're really throwing hard. And you never know what Hamels is asking. About they hit breaking balls. Were they good pitches? That's a skull session right there. Getting a barometer from the first inning.
John Mayberry Jr. lifts one to center field, and Juan Lagares barely has to move. One out in the second. There's former Met Steve Henderson, now the Phillies hitting coach.
Steve Henderson, of course, was part of that Seaver trade. And I'm sorry to bring it up, you Met fans out there, but I tell you what, he had a heck of a rookie year. Finished second in the Rookie of the Year, balloting to Andre Dawson. He was a free swinger. I remember he had a big hitch. Very aggressive, could run. But you'll always be remembered as that part of that Seaver deal.
Well, that's the thing. Everybody who was in that trade bore that as a burden. But, Steve had some pretty good years with the Mets. 1979, he had 306. Had a 380 on base percentage that year, which is pretty good for a free swinger, as you say. He had some memorable home runs. He had one against the Giants in 1980, a walk-off shot. So, and then he wound up having a pretty good career. Went on to the Cubs, Mariners, Oakland after that.
Everybody forgets. Everybody remembers Zachary and Doug Flynn and Steve Henderson. But Dan Norman was part of that trade.
Well, now the apocryphal story is that Joe McDonald was the Mets GM who engineered that trade, and his then 10-year-old son, as Galvis strikes out and is tagged by Buck for the second out. Joe's 10-year-old son, Jody McDonald, who would later go on to become a talk show host of some note, both in New York and Philadelphia, recommended to his dad that they get Dan Norman because he had seen Norman's statistics in
Norman
the minor leagues with the Reds.
He was the bust in the trade.
Did not fare well in the big leagues.
You never listen to your sons and daughters. Never. We have far more experience in these matters.
Here's Cole Hamels taking ball one. That's kind of a blanket statement, isn't it?
It is. I am painting with a broad brush. With intent.
I listen to my kids all the time. Sometimes I'm not quite sure what it is they're saying.
The only thing I listen to my kids about is their troubles. And I say, you know what? There's an old saying in baseball, take two and hit to right.
So you're saying you're not the shoulder to cry on.
Hang with them.
Tough love. How about with the grandkids? Are you that way?
Well, they're too young. They're great. Shoot. That's fantasy land.
Curveball,
Nice.
strike three call. Hamels down looking. Back-to-back strikeouts for Nice to close out the top of the second. 1-0 Mets. Mets upcoming schedule brought to you by Skechers, footwear for men, women, and kids. Mets begin their road trip tomorrow night in Miami in a marquee matchup of young, highly touted, and so far very successful pitchers. Matt Harvey goes for the Mets, and Jose Fernandez, who made his major league debut against the Mets here at Citi Field, pitches for the Marlins.
I did not work that game, and I watched part of it at home, and I'm looking forward to seeing that young man pitch. And of course, I always look forward to Matt Harvey's starts.
Marlon Byrd leads off the home second. Byrd getting the start against the left-hander. Marlins' numbers have sagged a bit lately, 2 for his last 15.
He's been struggling a tad, a little out of sync. Hamels continues to pound hitters inside, throwing hard today.
He's had trouble getting right-hand hitters out so far this year. Not only getting them out, but keeping them from driving the ball. Right-hand hitters are hitting .462 against his fastball this year. But he's got a little extra hop on that fastball today.
And overall, .278 with 4 home runs, the right-handers, in 90 at-bats. I think Marlin is picking the ball up out of the hand right now, and that's what happens when you go bad. There's your fastball, your pitch breakdowns against righties this year for Cole.
He just threw Marlin a curveball, something he doesn't throw that often to right-hand hitters. And he gets that fastball inside, and Byrd rips it foul.
Remember, he's got the great changeup, and I got to believe he's establishing inside the first time through the order, because that is his big knockout pitch. He's got one of the great changeups in the game today.
Threw a first pitch to David Wright, but we haven't seen a lot of it early. Ike Davis on deck, then Juan Lagares here in the home second. Byrd takes up and away.
So everybody thought that Cole Hamels was going to leave Philly and dash to Los Angeles, the Dodgers, and he turned around and signed a long-term deal with the Phillies. I thought that was great.
He signed through 2018 with an option for 2019, so he'll be a Philly for most of the rest of his career.
He could have been a free agent, correct? The Dodgers were coveting him, and that's where he's from, Los Angeles, the Los Angeles area.
By the way, you see the Dodgers lost another starting pitcher. Roy Halladay sitting in the Philly dugout looking on, always looking intently. But Stephen Fife, who was filling in for Chris Capuano, who was filling in for Zach Greinke, he had to go on the disabled list last night. They called up another kid.
Oh, my word.
Matt McGill. So the Dodgers have already used 9 starting pitchers this year through their first 23 games.
Wasn't that how many starters they had in spring training?
Well, they traded Harang. They've got 3 guys on the DL. Good changeup by Hamels to strike out Byrd, and that's his second strikeout.
Harang has not been very effective up in Seattle. He got lit up the other day. There's the circle change. Fold Marlin.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Ike Davis left in the lineup today because he's had some career success against Hamels, 6 for 19 with a home run. But he has not hit much against lefties this year, just 3 for 23.
Oh, it's all the first pitch swinging. He did it yesterday, swinging at bad pitches. And they say today the term pitch recognition. Okay, fine. It's not picking the ball up out of the hand. Starting too quick.
He hooked a double down the right field line his first time up yesterday, and then drove a ball pretty well to left field for a sacrifice fly. So he had a couple of decent at bats.
He looks a little bit tentative in that last swing. Boy, this is what he did last year. Can he do it again? Can he have a pull out of it?
And the breaking ball gets him, so back-to-back strikeouts for Hamels, and Davis never looked comfortable through that at bat.
21st strikeout of the year, and that's just a big slurve and a great spot, and waving at it. Watch, he's out in front, all spent. Too quick. It's easy to see up here when you got microseconds or split seconds to up at the plate, it's a little different story.
Juan Lagares, first pitch swinging. Rollins on the backhand, throws him out, and Hamels has himself a 1-2-3 inning. On to the third we go, 1-0 Mets. Nice mustache, by the way.
Darryl hit a game-winning home run right there. I remember that play.
Mookie, Kidd, McDowell. Jose Reyes snuck into the picture. Top of the batting order, Jimmy Rollins leads off in the third for the Phils. John Neese has thrown a first pitch strike to only 3 of his first 9 batters. Part of the reason he's thrown so many pitches early in the game, and again a first pitch ball to Rollins.
Well, Rollins always seems to come to New York and have a nice series. More so when Reyes was here, because there was seemed to be a competition. I don't think there was any love lost between them.
Two and one to Rollins, who's 3 for 8 in this series. Phillies came to New York a struggling team. They just lost 3 out of 4 to Pittsburgh at home.
After they won the first game in the series.
Shallow right, Bird circles in and has it for the first out. So 1 out and nobody on. Kevin Franzen coming up. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Yeah, lucky enough to be with the great Don Cheadle, who's in, well, everything. I mean, Don is everywhere in so many good things, but here promoting Iron Man 3, which comes out this weekend. Now, you have a really cool role in this. You're a war hero, but an Iron Patriot now. I mean, growing up, did you think, hey, if I want to be a superhero, a giant robot, or did you think the more traditional, old-school cape with kind of superpowers type thing?
Well, you know what was fun about this one is I kind of got the opportunity to do both. You know, I was Iron Patriot, you know, War Machine come Iron Patriot, but I had a fair amount of action to do outside of the suit, which was fun. So I got to work with the stunt team a lot, and got to do a lot of the wire work on cables, and just in a way a lot of wish fulfillment from when I was a kid. You know, get to play with the best toys.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, just threw out the first pitch today. How did you do?
I think I bounced it right in front of my man. He said, "Are you you should be nervous." I said, "No, you should be nervous. No matter what I do, I'm not going to hurt myself. I might put it right in your cup," which I did.
But you were very veteran savvy. I saw you warming up in the bullpen earlier. That's a move that most people have not done. That's a good job by you.
Yeah, well, when you're 48, you know, you don't want to get out there and pull a hammy throwing out the first pitch and have to limp in. So, you know, I just wanted to get the experience, and it was a lot of fun. It was great. Everybody at the organization has been really great.
Now, we were just talking. You grew up in Kansas City, but then kind of moved to Denver when you were a kid. So, Royals guy, what were your sports growing up?
Well, I was definitely the Royals and the Chiefs. When I moved to Denver, it was the Orange Crush, Broncos. The Rockies weren't there yet. And then I moved to Los Angeles after that. So I've been kind of all over the place. But my teams are probably still going to be, in football, the AFC team is still going to be the Chiefs and the Broncos.
How does that work? I mean, they're chief rivals. How does that work for you when they play each other?
It's tricky. When they play each other, and I call back to KC, we have a little friendly beef. But, I try to root for everybody,
You're on a media tour, obviously for Iron Man 3. It comes out this weekend, by the way, guys. How many times do you get asked the same question? I mean, how many times do you get asked, do you have the same answer for the same question?
I try to make it sound like it's the first time I've answered it, which is where I think the acting part comes in. But there's very similar questions. They're always going to be the same. Like, is the suit heavy? What's Robert Downey like? Is Gwyneth as beautiful as she is? All the same questions. So, do you have one?
Suit heavy?
Here we go. The suit is heavy. The suit is heavy, but not as heavy as the burden of having to answer it every single time.
Well, is it cool that people think you're a superhero? I mean, that's pretty neat, right?
No, it's fantastic. Look, this is great. This is, like I said, we have the ability to be in an environment playing with the best toys, with top professionals. It's great we were able to draw Sir Ben Kingsley in for this one, and Guy Pearce, and Rebecca Hall. So we've got great actors, and the movie really, makes good on the promise. It's spectacular, and it's just a great movie.
Don, it's a pleasure. You're terrific. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Good inning for Jonathan Neese. Don Cheadle here on the broadcast. We'll come back to Citi Field in a moment.
Home third inning, John Neese gets his first turn at bat against Cole Hamels and takes a strike. Neese 2 for 6 to start the year. So he's a .333 hitter. Ruben Tejada and Daniel Murphy to follow for the Mets, who got a run in the first off Hamels. A David Wright RBI single after Ruben Tejada led off with a double. The Mets come into the day still second in the major leagues in runs per game, but their offense has certainly cooled over the course of this homestand. Just 6 runs in the last 3 games. So the Mets trying to figure out ways to jumpstart their offense. Terry Collins made a much talked about change to his batting order on Friday, stuck with it yesterday, and going to a little bit different look against the left-hander today. But the Mets are trying to figure out ways to lengthen their lineup and get more from people other than Murphy, Wright, and Buck. Full count now to Neese. Hamels has already struck out 3, and Neese keeps this at bat alive.
I saw Don Cheadle in a play off Broadway back in the 90s, I believe. It was a theater in the round down in Union Square. I think it was Top Dog Underdog was the name of the play. I could be wrong. And
it was now looking for a strikeout for Hamels.
It was a fabulous play. I was like second row. I could reach out, almost touched the actors. It was really was a wonderful play, a wonderful performance from Don. And almost the end brought tears to my eyes almost. It's a tragedy. It was a wonderful play.
Of course, Don Cheadle's played all sorts of different roles, but for me, only because I've probably watched the movie 30 times, there'll always be Basher in Ocean's 11, bringing up his big device to make the lights go out.
I remember him in Boogie Nights.
Yeah. Here's Tejada, who doubled the left center and scored the only run in this game. And he takes wide from Hamels. Daniel Murphy on deck. Hamels is now retired 6 in a row, striking out 4 of the 6. But this is how it goes sometimes when you're that guy in the rotation. Last year was Cliff Lee. Didn't matter how well he pitched first half of the year, he couldn't get a win. And here's Hamels, who's put together 3 good starts in a row and now finds himself down 1-0 again.
Well, it's always scary to face someone that's a good pitcher that's on a losing streak. Oh, completely fooled on the changeup there. That happens. This is called waving. Get out the broom and sweep the floor with that. I was completely fooled. That's how good the changeup is of Hamels.
Two and two to Tejada. Hamels last year won 17. That was the most he had ever won, which is amazing when you think about the great teams the Phillies had. They won 5 straight division titles. Last year, a 500 team, and Hamels had his top victory season, 17-6, 3.05. A wonderful year for Hamels.
See, second time through the order. Here we go. What's he mixed in now against Tejada? Nothing but changeup. So the first time through the order, Hamels established inside. There you see Hamels' NL ranks from last season.
First 2 starts this year were awful. He gave up 8 runs against Kansas City in his second start, but he has started to kick it in gear since.
Backdoor slider. Oh boy, I didn't miss by much. Jeez, Hamels wanted that. We'll take a look. Well, close but no cigar. A lot of guts to take that pitch.
Shockingly, a full count to Ruben Tejada.
Yeah. Change up.
Made him look bad on one already. This one he just missed with, and it's ball 4. First walk given up by Hamels, who thought for sure he had the 2-2 pitch. Didn't get it. Well, Halladay, Lee, and Hamels, 3 aces, but they're 4-11 when those 3 guys start. Kendrick was brilliant on Friday night. Pettibone got his first win yesterday. John Lannon is the guy who Pettibone has taken the spot of out for a long period of time with a leg injury.
Well, Cliff Lee, his last start, had a sizable lead. Coughed it up against the Pirates.
1 out and 1 on. Murphy, who swung at the first pitch his first time up, takes inside. Daniel now 0 for 9 in this series. First real dry spell that he's had since the beginning of the month.
And ironically, in his coveted 3rd spot in the order, he struggled.
Do you think there's anything to that?
No,
that maybe he presses a little bit when he goes in the 3-hole?
No, I don't think so. I think he would relished it, and it just, they got him out. That's all. You got someone who the heck told me? You know, that guy out there in the mound's making a living too.
Murphy hit just 1 ball hard in those 2 games.
Sometimes they're going to make pitches on you.
Now Hamels behind 2-0, and he throws the off-speed pitch for a strike.
I used to always hate to get the pitcher out there that wasn't polished, had great stuff, but was a little wild, and he'd go and walk a couple guys, and you go up there and he'd throw you 3 straight nasty pitches.
Like facing Oliver Perez in his prime.
Yeah, you can't do that again. I dare you. Good sinker right there. Change up. That would be, it's the one big difference I've seen in the game today, pitching-wise. Nothing else has really changed. Is that lefty against lefty throwing change-ups and righty against righty throwing change-ups. It wasn't that predominant as it is today. That's the big change. It would be an adjustment for me.
Well, he threw 3 changeups in a row and struck him out. 5 strikeouts for Hamels.
Well, this is just, it's not a strike, but it's hard to lay off. See the sink? Just tough to lay off.
Now, why in your day would the lefties have not thrown that pitch to you?
That's a good question.
I mean, I remember when John Franco was pitching for the Mets, people would send up left-hand hitters against him.
John never threw changeup to me.
Well,
he just put me a hard sinker in the slider.
But that's what I'm saying. The opposing managers, Dusty Baker did it with the Giants, would send up lefty pinch hitters against him to take away his changeup.
Correct. Who was the lefty starter for the Cardinals? Matthews? Was it Greg Matthews?
Greg Matthews, yeah.
He was the first guy that came up a left-hander and threw me changeups. And he wasn't a hard thrower. I remember I jammed myself on a high change one time. And I remember I went, oh, okay. And I went to first base and I made the third out of the inning. Weak ground ball, second base, and I was calculating in my mind, okay, what did I do wrong? What do I need to do? I haven't seen this pitch, but I never faced him enough. That was on my back. I was on the tail end of my Met career. I got hurt that year with the broken kneecap. So, like Ted Williams said about the slider, I would have made the adjustments.
2-0 to David Wright. And he hits one past the mound, but Rollins is right there to make the toss and get him. And that retires the side. A walk and 1 left. We played 3 at Citi Field. Mets up 1-0. Springtoberfest event. Visit VWDealer.com. That's the view of the Unisphere over at the Old World's Fairgrounds next door in Flushing Meadow Park. Michael Young will lead off for the Phillies against John Neese, who has certainly shown no ill effects from the drive that hit him near the ankle in his last start. He's come back to pitch on his regular day, and he's thrown 3 scoreless innings. He's allowed just 3 base runners, a walk, and 2 errors. Call strike to Young, who drew that walk in the first inning. But the Phillies have not gotten their leadoff hitter on today, and that's been an ongoing trend both for them and the Mets. The Phillies and the Mets have the 2 lowest on base percentages leading off innings this season. And of course, that's an enormous piece of scoring in any inning. The numbers will tell you that when you get the leadoff man on in an inning, you score 51% of the time. When you don't, you score 16% of the time. It's an enormous spread. And you look at particularly the Mets numbers, and their overall on-base percentage is terrific. But if you're not getting your leadoff man on, sometimes that can go for naught. And the curveball missing to Young, 2-2. Young, Ruiz, and Brown up for the Phillies in the 4th inning. Phillies will be going to Cleveland to start a series tomorrow, while the Mets go to Miami. And Young shoots one up the middle, and now the Phillies have their first hit of the game. And the leadoff man on for the first time. So there you go.
Well, you don't win batting titles for nothing. And this young man, well, he is a young man, but for baseball, he's getting up there. Little sinker away, change up, stayed back, look at his hands back, good balance on the change, good hitting.
Young is now 7 for 9 in this series. So the Phillies have their first hit, and the Philly fans happy to have this guy, Chooch, Carlos Ruiz, back in the lineup. Reached on an error by David Wright his first time up, and yes, it was an error by David Wright after 77 games without one.
And we were just talking about afterwards about Steve Henderson in the 1977 trade of Tom Seaver.
Out to right field, and Bird has it lined up. Back to first goes Young, one away. Well, the Phillies get Carlos Ruiz back today. There are 3 teams in the National League East that have been playing without their #1 catcher. The Braves have been without Brian McCann all season, but he has begun a rehab stint, coming back from shoulder surgery, should be back fairly soon. And the Nationals have been playing without Wilson Ramos, who was out with an injury, and he is supposed to make his return sometime in the next couple of days. Meanwhile, the Mets have been getting plenty of production out of their #1 catcher in John Buck.
And that young man Gaddis, the catcher that filled in for McCann, he's cooled off, but boy, he was a big part of the Braves' quick start. Hit for power.
Well, the Braves were doing it with great pitching and to a certain extent with mirrors for their 13-1 start. I mean, you know, Justin Upton was off to a great start in terms of home runs, but I mean, if you look at Upton, he's got what, 12 homers and 18 RBIs. So it's kind of a, you know, it's a little overblown what he's accomplished. And well, Gaddis hit 6 home runs early.
If he keeps it up, he's going to hit up in the Bonds areas of home runs. I mean, obviously he's going to cool off. The Braves have lost 3 of 7 of their last 10, so on a 3-game losing streak right now. So they've cooled off. Washington's hanging in there.
Brown takes the cutter outside, and it's 2-2. Well, it's a pretty good formula for having your winning streak come to an end to go to Detroit and face that band of bashers. Chris Medlin got beat up a little bit yesterday. Fly ball center field for Lagares, and Brown retired 2 out. Paul Maholm got knocked around by the Tigers the day before.
First time, and you got the DH too when you go to the American League. So clubs, general managers, you know, mold their clubs with what they have to work with, and you know, so the American League teams I always feel have an advantage over National League teams when they play in their leagues, in their home ballparks, because National League GMs don't have to factor in having a DH.
Right. Well, I mean, some teams have a natural DH sitting on their bench, but it's not necessarily the case for a National League team. Here's Mayberry flying to center his first time up.
So I've always hated since the DH. This is one of the reasons Gary, we both don't like the DH, is that when you go to the World Series, I think it's an advantage to the American League when they played in their sites.
Well, there has been a move afoot in Major League Baseball to have a unified set of rules, and I'm afraid that we're going to end up with the DH throughout baseball, which is just a shame. And you know, the argument is always that, well, if we're going to have unified rules, we can't eliminate the DH because there are so many high-priced players, the union would never go for it. But to me, there's an obvious solution. You trade the DH for 2 extra roster spots. You get 2 minimum wage players on each team just to give you an extra couple of bench players or an extra bullpen arm.
Explain that again to me.
Well, the union supposedly won't go for eliminating the DH because most DHs make a lot of money, the David Ortiz's of the world. So if you'd say to the union, we're going to get rid of the DH, but we'll give you a 27-man roster.
Right. So
that would be the trade-off. And I think you need that anyway because bullpen specialty has become what it is, and everybody carries at least 12 pitchers. Your benches are so small, and in the National League, it's a better game if you got a 6 or 7-man bench, which is what you used to have when you were playing and you had a 10-man pitching staff.
Right.
Now you have only a 5-man bench, and it really limits flexibility. You can't carry a third catcher.
That's why you have so much flip-flopping of managers, flip-flopping lineups. I wouldn't want 12-man pitching staff. I'd want 11 and give me an extra bench man. Gee, what's going on here?
I think they've got the count wrong on the board, no?
But another thing, too, about the DH, I don't want to belabor the point, but starting pitchers can stay in the game longer. They can be losing by 4 runs, give up 4 runs in the first inning. They're never pinch hit for. They're not out of the game in the 6th inning. So when it comes to Hall of Fame and you look at someone's numbers, that's been an American leaguer as opposed to a National leaguer. How many more wins does that American League pitcher get because of the DH? And there's no penalty for an aging player to hurt you in the field defensively. And that goes to the Hall of Fame. Someone can get 3,000 hits that maybe wouldn't play every day because he has to play in the field and can't.
Strike 3 call. Mayberry caught looking. Strikeout number 3 for John Neese. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by the Chrysler Showcase event. Come see what's new and get a great deal on a new Chrysler vehicle. Nothing lead. They got the run in the first inning on a David Wright RBI hit. Since then, Cole Hamels has retired 8 of 9. He struck out John Buck in the first inning, one of 5 strikeouts for Hamels. And he misses high. Ball 1. Buck, Duda, and Bird for the Mets in the home 4th. Mets are 3-5 on this homestand, trying to close it on a positive note and avoid getting swept at home for the first time. There's a good changeup by Hamels, and it's 1-1.
All of a sudden, Hamels was having trouble getting the changeup over, sinking it in the dirt. Now he's starting to get the zone and starting to throw it for a strike, which is going to make him very tough.
John Buck leading the National League with 23 runs batted in. It's the most April RBIs for a catcher since 2000, when Pudge Rodriguez had 25 RBIs in the month of April. And still have 2 more games in April after today. And Buck rifles one foul.
Count.
Buck is also closing in on the Mets club record for RBIs in April. Jeff Kent has that mark with 26, so he's just 3 away from that. His bat has slowed somewhat. He couldn't stay as hot as he was. But then he hit that bomb yesterday his last time up. And there's strike 3 call, pain to the inside corner.
That's low. I'm sorry.
Bill Welke calling Buck out on strike.
That's low. Sorry, that's knee high to a grasshopper.
Well, if you're John Buck, what can you say other than I hope you give us that pitch too?
Yeah, you can be a team guy, or you can get an umpire and say, God darn it, get it up. It's not a strike.
You could do that.
Yeah. You got to know your umpires, who you can wolf at and who you can't. That was not a strike.
Due to hit a sharp ground ball that Kevin Franzen made a nice play on at first base his first time up. Hamels has already struck out 6. His season high has been 8. And the off-speed pitch, and Duda able to stop the swing. 2-1. The Nationals today are trying to sweep a series from the Reds, and they've got Russ Detweiler, who nobody's touched this year, going. But Detweiler, for the first time, has given up some runs, and the Reds are up 3-0 in the second.
Have you heard anything about Brian O'Nora, who home plate umpire in the first game of this series? Remember, he got sick.
Yeah, last we saw him, he was charging down the tunnel, and
he hasn't been back. It's David Rackley at first base taking his spot. Good slider. I tell you what, Hamels right now has found the range. He's locked in now.
3-2 to Duda. He fouls off the fastball. 91 wins, 63 losses for Hamels in his career. San Diego native, drafted out of high school. He had the first round in 2002 by the Phillies. And he misses outside, and Duda draws his 18th walk of the year. Second one given up today by Hamels. One of the reasons why Duda is in the top 4 in the National League in on-base percentage. So 1 out and 1 on. Now Marlon Byrd, who struck out his first time up.
Hamels was the #1 pick, correct? 2002, I believe.
Right.
17th overall.
Would have been in the big leagues even sooner, but shortly after being drafted was involved in an altercation.
That's right.
And suffered an elbow injury that set back his progress.
Didn't he cut a fight his knuckle too, in a bar fight or something? But he's calmed down now. This is James Dean moments.
We all grow up.
Well, either that or you're going to have a broken nose and no teeth. And fighting's no good, let me tell you. Trust me. I never like to get hit. Avoid at all costs. They got to hit you first.
Bird pops one up. And Franzen struggling with it.
Wow.
And wound up catching it in fair territory.
And it's very interesting. The wind blew the ball back into play, but you look at the flags down the right field line. Well, they're kind of shifting now. Okay. They're swirling here today a little bit. Not a big breeze. Circle the wagons.
Good thing for Franzen, he's wearing the big glove today.
Yeah, there it is. Don't pay attention to me. It was blowing a moment ago.
We can show you any flag you want, and as you know, in this vicinity, they all blow in different directions. So here's Ike Davis, who struck out meekly his first time up. Duda at first and 2 down. And he got a first pitch fastball, but out of the strike zone for ball 1.
And more importantly, it really doesn't matter what pitch. It's the location, Garrett. It's on the outside part of the plate. They're just away, away, away. Occasionally show him one bat off the plate just to keep him honest.
Well, that's why it was nice in that bases loaded situation yesterday when Ike drove the ball to left field. He, he's got it 5 feet from the wall and was that close to hitting a grand slam, but he got a sacrifice fly out of it. But more importantly was that he was able to drive the ball to left.
2-0 change and a 1-0 change. Would you give Ike a hit sign here, even as bad as he's going? I might be inclined.
Well, it's too high. We'll never know. And so the Mets have 2 men on. So a couple of walks in the inning from Hamels, making him work that much harder to get through the 4th inning. And now the rookie Juan Lagares will get a chance with 2 men on. Lagares saw 1 pitch his first time up, grounded out to short. 1 for 7 to start his big league career.
So I don't think that Juan is going to get a first pitch fastball. I think Hamels, who hasn't faced Lagares, everybody's first time around. Okay, he swung out my first pitch the first time up. This guy's a first ball fastball hitter. And he throws him a fastball. So don't pay attention to me.
But he threw it out of the strike zone.
Yeah, up and in. Purpose pitch, possibly.
Now give him a looking fastball and throw him a changeup.
That's the beauty of the game, is it not?
2 on and 2 out. Lagares, the number 8 hitter in the order. Threw the fastball away, and Ruiz throwing behind Davis at first.
All those Latin catchers, they love to throw. They got great arms, and they love to throw. It's like I just get bored down here squatting, calling signs, having to catch all these pitches. I got to have some fun. Tony Pena comes to mind. Pirate catcher, love to throw.
Well, we saw it in this series with Humberto Quintero throwing behind runners. 2-0 to Lagares. And the changeup outside. And so after walking Davis on 4 pitches, Hamels has gone 3-0 to Lagares. You got the pitcher Nice on deck, but what this does more than anything else is drive up Hamels' pitch count.
He's not happy.
Pushing toward 80 in the 4th inning.
Excuse me, Gary. I'm sorry. He's not happy with himself. In a groove, and all of a sudden, a couple walks.
3-0 changeup.
Really throwing a predominantly changeups this second time through the order. Those are things in the bench the player should be paying attention to. Watch.
Now the 3-1, and Lagares walks, and the Mets have the bases loaded.
Wow.
So 3 walks in the inning from Hamels, and now Nice will come to bat with the bases full. Rich Doobie, the pitching coach, will head out to the mound for a conversation. So Hamels has struck out 6, but he's walked 4, and thus the 78 pitches with 2 out in the 4th inning.
Very uncharacteristic for him to walk 3 batters in an inning. I don't think I've ever seen him do that. He's not missing by much.
Saw John Nice walk 3 in an inning in his last start, but Hamels last year just 52 walks in 215 innings. He has very good control. Second time this year that Hamels has walked 4 in a game. So now Nice, who took a cold 3rd strike his first time up. Duda's at 3rd, Davis at 2nd, Lagares at 1st with 2 down. Nice with 1 RBI this season and 7 in his career in 178 at bats. Bases loaded, 2 out, and this is outside. So Hamels really struggling with himself right now.
And I just said not too long ago he's found his groove, and all of a sudden
he got ungrooved.
Well, he's got the right guy up, and but Nice is a threat with the bat. He is not an easy out.
9 of his last 10 have been out of the strike zone. There's a fastball for a strike. 1-1.
Outfield playing very shallow, particularly left field and center for the Phillies.
And Nice swings and misses at the changeup. 1-2. on the outside corner. So another borderline strike as Bill Wilkie punches out knee. 7 strikeouts for Hamels. 1-0 Mets.
If Franco can save this one, he has earned his money for the whole year. Here's the pitch on the way. Line drive caught. The game is over. The Mets win it. A line drive to Mario Diaz. And the Mets win the ball game. They win the damn thing by a score of 10-9.
Murph.
You know, that became known as the damn game because of Bob Murphy's call. What people don't remember is why he made that call the way he did. As you look at some of the numbers between the Mets and Phillies all time, that game was 10-3 going to the bottom of the 9th. And Wally Whitehurst was on in relief. Gave about 7 ground ball hits that found holes in a row. And the Phillies scored 6 runs, had the bases loaded. Finally, the first hard hit ball in the inning, and Tommy Hurt lines out to end the game. And Murph was right on the money. Freddie Galvis leading off in the 5th inning. John Neese working with a 1-0 lead. He's allowed just 1 hit. So Neese bouncing back very nicely from the ball that struck him on the leg in his last start.
And the cold weather starts.
Galvis struck out his first time. I remember last year Galvis had a great spring training and was gifted the starting second base job coming out of the spring because Chase Utley was out, but didn't hit a whole lot. Lost that job. Wound up back in the minors. Just 23 years old. And when he went to spring training this year, it was an eye toward being more of a utility guy, and that's when he started taking balls in the outfield, and sure enough getting a start in left field today.
Well, the more positions you can play, the more valuable you become if you're a bench player, obviously.
In Galvis's case, a switch hitter as well, and he lines this one toward the left field line. Foul.
Oh, did he catch it?
And out of the glove. Well, that's why you bring your glove, but you know, 2 hands.
He caught the bear.
He did a very nice job with that.
See, he didn't use 2 hands. See, you got to use 2 hands, Slugger. Oh, I see. He had the Heineken in the other hand.
And he deflected it right off his friend's face. If you put the beer down and use 2 hands, right, you catch it, and she doesn't get like a ball in the nose.
Here, honey, hold my Heineken.
Here's the 1-2. Foul back. John has struck out 3, walked 1, allowed just 1 single to Michael Young in the 4th. And Galvis launches one deep left field. Back goes Duda looking up, and it's out of here. Freddie Galvis ties the game with his 2nd home run of the season. So Galvis, who had not had a hit as a right-hand batter this year, he'd been 0 for 11. Fell behind in the counter relief, fouled off a few, and now takes Nice deep to tie the game at 1.
Down and in curveball, or was it a cutter? We'll take a peek. But he rewards his manager with a spot start. Curveball, didn't get on top enough. He picked it off the ground.
It's not a bad pitch.
That was like 3 inches off the ground. That's called golfing it.
So Galvis getting a start in the outfield and slugging one like an outfielder. We talked coming into this series about how the Philly outfielders had struggled as a group. Ben Revere had been starting every day in center. He's sitting with a quad now, and he hasn't played in this series. But then yesterday, Brown and Mayberry hit back-to-back home runs. Now Galvis hits a home run, and all of a sudden, the Phillies getting a little more production out of their outfield.
Very thankful Cole Hamels gets him back in the ball game.
Hamels took a call third strike his first time and hits a little jam job to third for the first out of the inning.
Well, Nice had been cruising, only giving up 1 hit up to that point.
Just the 3rd home run John's allowed in 6 starts this year. Last year the home run ball was a problem for him. Has not been so far this year. Now Rollins is 0 for 2, grounded to second and flied out to right. Cutter inside to Rollins, ball 1.
Bill Welke really gets over the inside corner. His whole body. Watch as he gets in his position. He's way over that inside corner.
Remember when the American League umpires used to have the bubble chest protectors, and they stood right over the top of the catcher?
And they had the burgundy jackets, remember? The burgundy blazers.
But that's when the American League was known as a high strike league,
right,
and the National League was known as a low strike league. This one's driven out to center, slicing away from Lagares, but he gets over there easily and makes the grab on Rollins, 2 out. Because the National League umpires would set up where Welke is now inside and get so much lower than the American League umpires.
Right,
would.
they had a better look over the head of the catcher for the corners. But elevation-wise, they could not see the knees, so thus they were a high strike league. And the National League, of course, always wore the traditional black uniforms
with the inside chest protector,
right,
which everybody wears now,
and got down low.
Wright has to charge, makes the bare hand play on Friends, and then throws him out. Side retired. So Nice gets the next 3 after the home run from Freddie Galvis. His 2nd of the year ties the game. Halfway through at Citi Field, tied at 1. Cable. Switch to Time Warner Cable and enjoy better. You see the Phillies bench today sat most of their left-handed bats against John Neese, so only one right-handed bat in the dugout with Eric Kratz, and there's the Phillies bullpen. 3 lefties in that pen, including the former Met Raul Valdez, who threw 2 perfect innings yesterday. Third time around the batting order against Cole Hamels. Ruben Tejada has doubled and walked today. Scored the lone net run back in the first inning after drilling one to the gap in left center. Tejada, Murphy, and Wright with the game now tied at 1. Each team with only 2 hits. And Hamels finds the outside corner, a ball and a strike. Tejada's now hit in 5 straight games after an 0 for 18 stretch. And his defense has certainly shored up as well. Although there was one play yesterday that they scored a base hit. I don't know if you saw it or not, Keith. Ball where Rollins was running at second base and kind of shielded Tejada. And the ball went right through him and they scored it a hit.
I didn't see it.
I think I might have scored it in there.
I was out in my hammock in the backyard.
Good for you. Slow ground ball for Rollins to handle. 1 away.
Well, speaking of hammocks, and when you think of a hammock, it's always a glorious day when you're in the backyard, and it's a beautiful day here today. That's for sure. And we're going down to warm climes.
Well, for 3 days.
Oh, Atlanta's not going to. Atlanta's going to be in the 60s, low 60s.
Yeah, we might as well be here. It's lovely here.
Rain. Well, nice crowd today.
Murphy hooks one to second. And Utley takes care of that, and Hamels has 2 quick outs in the 5th after a 3-walk 4th inning that cost him 27 pitches. He's thrown just 5 pitches to get the first 2 outs here in the 5th.
He's pitched Murph differently every at bat. And as David Wright gets loose, first at bat to Murph. Murph first pitch fastball got the runner over on a leadoff double that wound up scoring. He struck out Murph on changeups the second time through the order and then led him off with a slow curve to get him out here. So Hamels mixing it up.
David produced the Mets' only run with a first inning single, his 19th run batted in of the year, grounded out a second time.
4 career home runs off Hamels. Here's the base hit. Put the Mets ahead early. That was a heck of an at-bat. Plated Tejada. That was a curveball down and in. Nice hitting by Dave.
Second chance.
Everybody gets a trophy.
Don't start. Now the 0-2, and he makes David move his feet. A ball and 2 strikes. Two, and a full count. He bounces the changeup, and he's angry at himself again.
He threw him 2 straight fastballs in to set up the changeup, and he wasn't even close with it, and that's why he's angry with himself. Remember, he was 0-2 in the count here.
Well, what do you do 3-2?
Why not?
He's had a good fastball today, but he walked him. And that is 5 walks given up by Hamels, just 1 shy of his career high. And that is going to limit his time in this game, you would think. Up to 94 pitches in the 5th inning.
Well, shoot. He's got 4 days to rest.
Well, he's a workhorse. There's no question about that. Hamels has thrown 180+ innings in 6 straight seasons, beginning with his 2nd year in the majors. The last Philly pitcher to do that was Robin Roberts. In terms of that kind of level of consistency going to the mound early in your career. It's been a very reliable starter for the Phillies. So now with the tie-breaking run at first, Buck at the plate, who Hamels has struck out twice, swinging in the 1st, looking in the 4th. And he drives one to left field.
End of the bat.
And Galvis gets back to grab it. Side retired. So Buck is retired. 5 in the books. Mets and Phillies tied at 1. #1 pitching prospect, Zach Wheeler. It's not been a good start in AAA for Wheeler. You see the numbers there. 5 starts, a 5.79 ERA, too many walks. And SNY sent a crew out to Las Vegas to talk to Zach, and he was asked what he's doing to try and correct some of the difficulties.
Just obviously a lot of work in the bullpen. You know, we got our pitching coach, Randy Sinclair. He's been around a while. He's played in the big leagues. He's coached in the big leagues. You know, I think he's helped me out a good bit. You know, just keeping my front side in, my front shoulder, and just driving towards the plate instead of flying open and leaving my arm up and stuff. You know, because you leave your arm up, the ball flies arm side, or you try to make an adjustment and you yank it down. When you get your arm in, you go, you know, straight to the plate, and it's a little bit easier to command.
So he's working on it, and you know, a lot of us certainly were clamoring for Zach Wheeler to be in the big leagues at this point, and it would certainly appear from the way things are going in Las Vegas that he needs a little more time.
Well, you know, it's ironic. A lot of the same principles to pitching as to, look at Dan Warthen, to hitting, keeping the front shoulder in. Like Ronnie always preaches, you know, tucking that front shoulder. Don't open that front shoulder up too quick, because all you got left is arm. The same principle to hitting, keeping that front shoulder in.
Chase Utley lifts one to left center, and Lagares drifting over. 1 out.
Oh,
Hamels pretty unhappy with himself.
That's, you know, and look at the inning he had. It was just the 1 walk. He got everybody else out. He's angry at himself with David Wright not getting that changeup over. That's the perfectionist in him. And that's all there is to it. I mean, anybody would have an inning like that, a scoreless inning. You walk one batter, but striving for perfection.
Well, here's Michael Young, whom the Mets have not been able to get out in this series. 7 for 9 in the 3 games. He's raised his batting average 48 points since the Phillies arrived. Today has walked and singled to center. Well, Hamels also knows if he wants to stick around long enough to win this game, he has to be a little sharper, and he can't be walking 5 batters.
Yeah, remember, he's 0-3. His last 3 starts, he's pitched wonderfully, and nothing to show for it. He's 1 loss and 2 no decisions. He wants a win.
Changeup misses from Nice. 2 balls and a strike to Young. John's been throwing that changeup more this year. Mike Adams trying to start a fire in the Philly bullpen.
They're down there in the shade. It's a bit drafty back there.
That's something that Nice never would have done in past years, throw back-to-back changeups. Last year he threw that pitch about 4% of the time. This year 14%. It's a pitch he's worked very, very hard on. 2-2, and the curveball hit out to right center, and Lagares, he cruises on the ball awfully nicely.
He closes fast, doesn't he?
2 out and nobody on. When you watch Suki and Francis on the Pix 11 Morning News, you get more of what you want in the morning. More news, more weather, more fun. The Pix 11 Morning News, weekday mornings starting at 4 a.m. Two out and nobody on. Now Carlos Ruiz, who's reached on an error and fly to right. Nice has already had 2 1-2-3 innings today. John retired the side in order 4 of his first 7 innings in his first start, but only 3 out of 20 coming into today. Well, he's already had 2 and looking for a third. Ruiz making his first appearance of the season after the 25-game suspension. Day that the Phillies have been eagerly anticipating since the beginning of the year. 11 and 14 without Ruiz. Dominic Brown on deck. And Ruiz swinging 3-0, hits it down the right field line, and that ball lands fair and bounces over the wall for a ground rule double. So on a 3-0 pitch, Ruiz takes one the other way for a 2-base hit, the Phillies' 3rd hit of the day.
Well, that's the first hit of the season for Carlos. And his manager giving him a 3-0 hit sign. Usually you want something to pull. Ruiz tardy, but a little slicing line drive down the right field line.
So that puts the tie-breaking run in scoring position with 2 out and brings up Dominic Brown, who's grounded into a force play and flied out 0 for 2. And Nice throws a cutter, 0-1.
Yeah, I've been talking a lot about Hamels, and I've been overlooking the hometown pitcher here. He's been throwing quite a ball game himself.
A little more efficient so far than Hamels has been. Another cutter. This one's away. A ball and a strike. Brown 2 for 11 in the series, but he had the big blow yesterday, a 3-run homer, and Mayberry hit a home run right behind him. Laborious first inning because of a couple of errors, but Nice has settled in, and Brown hits one out to left center. Another chance for Lagares, and he makes it look easy as he steps in front of Duda, who almost made his life very difficult.
You don't want to run into Lucas.
Lagares with all 3 putouts in the inning, and thank goodness Duda evaded him at the last moment. Center fielder's ball.
game, Mets and the Phillies. We head to the bottom of the 6th inning. Well, we saw 2 batters ago. Carlos Ruiz taking a rip on a 3-0 count and converting with a double there. I talked to Charlie Manuel, the Phillies manager, yesterday about that philosophy, and he said, you know, I like it. I like guys on 3-0 swinging. I give the green light a lot on that. Couple reasons. He said, I feel like when you get to that point as a hitter, you've earned it. You've earned the right to take a big swing. And for me as a manager, when I'm giving guys the green light, I think it's a confidence builder. I'll give it to guys, and it's not only power guys that I'll give it to. I'll give it to guys, for example, I give it to Jimmy Rollins at home a lot because he finds the gaps. He can hit a home run. I feel like it's a big confidence builder, not only to give the green light, but if you get a result like that, it can really get you going a little bit at the plate. Gary and Keith?
Well, I'd always like to hear that. You know, everybody thinks in terms of a 3-0 hit sign, you're going to have to look for a ball middle in and wail, try to hit a home run. You don't necessarily have to. A guy like Rollins, if you're late in the ball game, tie ball game, 1-run game, but you got the ability to steal bases, you don't have to swing for a home run. You're a table setter. Get a pitch to hit and drive into the gap, hit a double.
Duda gets ahead of one and hits it down the right field line, but that's going to go foul. Well, I think also sometimes it depends on the situation. You got 2 out and nobody on, like Ruiz did. I don't think there's any reason not.
You go for the downs.
3-0,
you go
right?
for you go for the downs and try to get a. But if you're leading off an inning and you're a speed guy like Rollins, base hit, double.
See, I don't like that. Leading off the inning, the guy can steal a base.
I know, I agree. But if you give him the hit sign,
yeah.
It's rare, but I like Charlie. Charlie's hitter friendly. Old hitting coach he is.
It's his thing. Duda strikes out on the cutter away. 8 strikeouts for Hamels. That matches his season high.
Out of the strike zone, chasing. So you don't see Lucas chase too much. He's got a pretty good eye, good knowledge of the strike zone. But he gets fooled there. Took something off that slider. 100th pitch for Cole.
He's retired the leadoff hitter now in 5 straight innings. And here's Marlon Byrd, who has struck out and popped up today, 0 for 2. Phillies 1 run, 3 hits. The Mets 1 run and 2 hits. Hamels at and now just above 100 pitches in the 6th inning. John Neese 97 pitches through 6, so he'll get 1 more.
Got ourselves a good old-fashioned pitcher's duel as advertised.
Hamels gave up a run in the first. He is not allowed a hit since then, although he has walked 5. 2-0 to Byrd, and he takes another changeup up and away, and it's 3-0.
These are the kind of games I love. I love pitchers duels where you get late in the ball game and every pitch counts. One mistake could beat you.
See, Byrd has the green light on 3-0, and he takes a strike. Phillies are going to get somebody up in the bullpen now as Hamels' pitch count gets elevated.
Marlon's got those socks showing.
On 3-1, he watches ball 4, and so Hamels has matched his career high with his 6th walk of the game. Philippe Aumont is up in the bullpen for the Phillies. Hard throwing right-hander who has struggled this year.
Well, he's tough against righties, but he's a sinker slider guy, and he really struggles against left-handers.
So now Davis, who drew a walk on 4 pitches his last time up. Hamels has now walked 5 of the last 11 batters.
There's the old slider away. Another slider.
And it's hit on the ground to Utley at second. Gets the out at second and then dropped by Rollins. No chance for a return. They say that he dropped it on the exchange, so Bird is out.
I concur. This was a double play. Utley very sure-handed, perfect feed. Rollins just couldn't get it out of the glove.
I thought Utley took a lot of time getting rid of that ball.
I thought he was all right. You got to remember one thing. You haven't got a speedster who hit the ball in Davis. So I think that's why he was more deliberate.
So now 2 out and a runner at first, and here's Juan Lagares, who's grounded out and walked. Brandon Lyon has gotten up in the Mets bullpen, and so if Lagares gets on, the Mets will use a pinch hitter for Nice. Justin Turner out on deck to pinch hit.
Boy, oh boy, if I'm a pitcher, I don't want to leave this game. Come on, coach. It's a tie ball game.
Well, I have to think that if Lagares does not get on, that Nice will still be in.
Yep.
But the same thing happened yesterday. Sean Markham would have pitched the 5th inning, but the Mets had a scoring chance, and so Terry pinch hit for Markham.
Markham had a little bit of a shaky debut here in a Met uniform.
Looked really good in the 1st inning. I mean, he throws so much junk up there, and he was throwing it for strikes early, but his margin for error is so small. You see the line on Nice. He may or may not still be in this game, depending on what happens here. Lagares is grounded out and walked today, 1 for 7 in his big league career. And he pops one up. Utley out, Mayberry in, and here comes the right fielder Brown to make the catch, and that retires the side. A walk and 1 left through 6. We're tied at 1. Giancarlo Stanton homered yesterday. His first of the year. He's homered again today. Cubs and Marlins tied 3-3 in the 6th. Reds putting it to Ross Detweiler early. They're up 4-0 on the Nats. Pirates and Cardinals are in the 2nd. Pittsburgh 4 games over 500, is a half game behind the Cardinals for first place in the Central. And later on, Clayton Kershaw pitches for the Dodgers, and the Giants and Padres later on as well. John Mayberry leads off in the 7th inning for the Phillies against John Nice, who's at 97 pitches for the day, and Mayberry pops the first pitch up. Lagares has had a lot of work in center field this afternoon. 1 pitch and 1 out. That's 8 putouts for Lagares in his 2nd big league start.
You're right.
Tell you what, he has been very interesting to watch in center field. Mets have touted him as a strong defensive center fielder, and he has looked the part.
He closes well on balls. We don't know anything about his arm yet. I get to see him throw, and you know, if he hits, there'll be a spot for him. That's usually the name of the game, isn't it?
There's Freddie Galvis, whose home run tied this game.
Well, down and in curveball. There's Hamels, and he's El Finito. Too many pitches.
111 pitches for Hamels through 6 innings because of the 6 walks.
And today's game is too many pitches. I guarantee you back 25, 30 years ago, it would still be in there.
There's nobody on deck for the Phillies, which is against the rules. Was that a 5-yard penalty or a 15-yard penalty?
He had to go, and someone's coming out of the clubhouse. They had to go find someone.
Antonio Bastardo up in the bullpen. And Galvis grounds one down to David Wright. And David throws him out, 2 away.
So if you're a bench player and the 7th, 8th, and 9th hitters, how can you not be on the bench? And they had to go up the clubhouse and get someone. And it's going to be Lance Nix, who they had to shake down.
So Nix, who started the first 2 games of this series in right field, not starting today against the left-hander, but they only have one right-handed bat on the bench, and that's their backup catcher Eric Kratz. They don't want to use him, and so Nix gets the call. He's 2 for 8 in this series.
He's 6 for 12 as a pinch hitter with 2 home runs and 5 RBI, and I guarantee you they're not off left-handers. He is 0 for 3 against lefties. That's pretty doggone good off the bench, huh?
One of those came against the Mets in that series in Philadelphia. One of those pinch hit home runs. And Neese throws a cutter for a strike, and it's 1-1. It's been a very efficient, workmanlike outing for Neese today. Gave up the home run to Freddie Galvis on a curveball that was almost in the dirt in the 5th inning. And that's all he's allowed. This curveball's popped up. Buck coming over. And can't make the grab.
You kind of want David to make that play. David was playing very much the pull on Nix. And that bat boy's got to get out of the way. Slugger, you got to tuck in your uniform, too.
So Nix gets a life. And they are going to charge an error on Buck for prolonging the time at bat. The Mets' 3rd error of the day. That's another tough error.
Really?
It's a 2nd one.
Who was the scorer today?
Not sure. Nix drives one down the left field line. Foul. They charge an error on Neese in the 1st inning that should have been a hit, and this should have been no play.
So David had to be way over the pull on that ball, on that pop up.
Dave Freeman is the official scorer today.
Dave is very grumpy today.
We had Dave in our booth earlier this week.
Very grumpy.
It's the 1-2. Just missed the outside corner.
What side of the bed did he wake up on this morning?
Well, of the 3 errors the Mets have made, the one on David Wright was an obvious one.
Yes.
The other 2 very questionable. Line the other way and a base hit for Nix. So given the extra life, Nix comes through with a 2-out pinch hit. And what is he now, 7 for 13 as a pinch hitter?
7 for 13 as a pinch hitter. First hit against a left-hander of the season.
And the Mets had their left side defense closing the hole. Tejada and Wright were almost together, and yet he still found the space between them. Scott Atchison up in the Mets bullpen. Brandon Lyon was up a moment ago. Now it's Jimmy Rollins, who's 0 for 3 today, 3 for 10 in this series. Go ahead run at first with 2 down. Nick's not a particularly fast runner. And a fastball strike to Rollins. So Neese about to get to 110 pitches. This is his season high. He hadn't thrown more than 101 in a game this year. And runs the cutter inside, a ball and a strike.
Very, very good. This is the John Neese that we've come to know and love. He's really pitching well.
I talked to John during the week. He said the best thing about this start today was going to be that he got to pitch in short sleeves. He knew it was finally going to be warm enough. Even that start that he made the other night when he got hurt, it was a very chilly night. Not quite Minnesota, Colorado chilly, but
that you can't categorize those 2 nights as chilly, Garrett.
Frigid. 1-2, and Rollins takes the changeup low.
It was Nanook of the North up there.
Kevin Franzen on deck. Slow roller, foul.
Hamill's hoping for a double here to make him the pitcher of record. Otherwise, it'll be another start for him. 6 starts without a win. He'll go the month of April without a win.
See the pitches for Neese. His career high is 122 pitches. He did that 2 years ago. And now he's run a full count on Rollins. Another question is, if Rollins gets on, would Terry Collins go to the bullpen? He's got Atchison getting ready with a right-hand hitter Franzen on deck. But remember that Ryan Howard looms on that bench,
right,
as a potential pinch hitter,
which means a negative. I don't think that you'll want Howard up at the plate. You'd rather face Franzen and then Howard, I believe.
Well, he's preparing for the possibility.
Yep, absolutely.
3-2, and Rollins drives one foul. So Rollins with a long turn at bat here.
That section down there has been peppered by some line drives today in this game.
Got to be ready.
There's the guy right there that blew it not too long ago with the Heineken, with little Heineken in his hand.
Ninth pitch of the at bat coming, and Rollins drives a base hit. So that pushes the go-ahead run to second base, and a decision for Terry Collins to make here. Neese at 117 pitches, and I believe he has thrown his last. So now Charlie Manuel will have to decide whether to leave Franzen in or bring in Ryan Howard. Mets will make a double switch. Colin Cowgill will come into the game, and Scott Atchison will come on to pitch. Neese exits after 6 2/3. The call to the bullpen brought to you by Sprint as Howard gets himself ready. 1-1 Mets and Phils in the 7th. We'll be right back.
Well, 11th game for Atchison. He's been steady out of that bullpen. We were concerned at whether Charlie Manuel would use Howard. Well, there's your answer. Not a bit surprised.
So Ryan Howard, who was sitting today, he had poor career numbers against John Neese, gets an opportunity here in a tie game in the 7th with runners at first and second and 2 out. There you see what Howard has done pinch hitting. Extraordinary numbers as a pinch hitter. Most guys who play every day are not great pinch hitters, but Howard has been.
This will also get Howard in the game if it goes extra innings.
Howard's 0 for 2 in his career against Atchison, who's working for the first time in this series. 2 out and 2 on. And Howard takes one at his feet for ball 1.
You got Utley behind Howard, so he's protected.
Howard's 2 for 8 in this series with 5 RBIs, including a 3-run homer that he slugged against Dylan G on Friday night. And Atchison runs one inside. It's 2-0.
They're going to pound Howard inside.
Atchison last pitched on Thursday, got a couple of outs against the Dodgers. And Howard launches one to deep center field. Back goes Cowgill. Warning track near the wall, and it's off the fence. The Phillies take the lead. Nix and Rollins both score on a long double for Ryan Howard. A pinch hit, 2-base hit to put the Phillies up 3-1. Well, Atchison fell behind in the count and paid for it. Both those runs are charged to John Neese.
Fastball away and up. The same pitch hit the home run the other night on the changeup, if you recall. And I got to feel that we'll take a look at the back runner here, and that's Rollins. Hey, there's 2 outs. You got to go. He's not really booking. He should have booked. Kind of Cadillac'd it there.
Well, so did Howard coming out of the batter's box. He thought he had a home run. Winds up with a 2-run double. Hamels now on the front end of a 3-1 score, and John Neese on the south side. Utley drives one to the gap in left center field, and that's down for a base hit. That'll chase home Howard with the 3rd run of the inning. Utley, after a wide turn, goes back to first with an RBI single, and the Phillies are up 4-1. So Scott Atchison is greeted rudely. 4 pitches, 3 runs.
Utley wasting no time. First pitch fastball out over the plate, belt high. And the Met bullpen struggling. He takes a big hard turn. And he realizes, no, that run is more important. Well, I guess Terry Collins felt at 117 pitches that Neese was done.
Well, then the question is, would you have been better off having a left-hander up, knowing that they would go to Howard in that spot? Well, would you rather face Franzen, or would you rather face Howard?
So who are you most confident to go to? And I think that Terry Collins at this stage, and I agree with him 100%, has more confidence in a tight situation. He goes to Atchison, and I can't blame him.
Well, here's the problem. There have not been a lot of good answers in that bullpen. They've had some good moments, but the Mets came into the day with the 29th ranked bullpen out of 30 teams in Major League Baseball, and that just took another hit.
You know, you can second guess all you want. You know, you could have gone to the mound, told Neese, this is your last guy. Let's go. Bull your neck. This is your last batter. Giving you a little breather here. I want you to rear back, reach for something extra. I don't want to go to my bullpen and have a chance of Howard pinch hitting. It's on you. You know, win or lose this ball game.
Well,
so it's what this one just didn't work out, but it's a different game today with the pitch counts. Just a different game.
Well, you go back to that foul pop-up with 2 out and nobody on that went off the glove of John Buck.
That's right.
Nix got a second chance, got a base hit against Neese. Rollins worked a 9-pitch at bat, wound up with a base hit, knocked Neese out of the game. And Howard with the long double to give the Phillies the lead. Atchison handles the comebacker and retires Michael Young, but the barn door closed a little late. 3 runs come home for the Phillies. 7th inning stretch, 4-1 Philadelphia. different once the Mets went to the bullpen. 3 runs for the Phillies in the top of the 7th, and now the Mets will be trying to respond against the Philadelphia bullpen in the bottom of the 7th. Look inside the Mets Hall of Fame and Museum down the rotunda, and look at that, signed by our very own.
How about that? It is my signature too. It's not a fake. Gary Carter.
Fake your signature.
Charlie.
Is he good at it?
Yeah. They used to have like 4 dozen baseballs. I hate to say it. 4 dozen baseballs every game on a homestand when I played with the Mets. And I got tired of signing them. So I had Charlie sign them.
Ryan Howard stays in the game to play first base. Dominic Brown moves from right field to left field. And Lance Nix stays in the game in right field for the Phils. So Franzen and Galvis, who are kind of playing out of position, now both off the field for the Phillies, now that they have a 4-1 lead. Mike Adams will stay busy in the Philly bullpen as Bastardo will pitch the 7th, with Colin Cowgill due to lead off the inning for the Mets, having come on in a double switch in the last inning. Brandon Lyon now up in the Mets bullpen after Scott Atchison gave up the long double to Howard and a run-scoring hit to Utley to bring in 3 Philadelphia runs after John Neese exited in what was a 1-1 game and now finds himself on the hook. Cole Hamels, despite walking 6 in 6 innings, now has a chance to win for the first time this season.
How about that? Sitting there, 2 outs, nobody on, going shucks. 6th start, I got no wins in April, and looking at a W right now.
6 walks and 8 strikeouts for Hamels, who allowed a run on 2 hits in the first and no hits after that. So here's Cowgill, who came on in the double switch. Colin had 2 at-bats in yesterday's game and went 0 for 2. It's been a struggle for Cowgill, who got off to a scintillating start but has not hit much since, hitting just 174 for the year. And Bastardo starts him off with a fastball strike.
Bastardo's been very good this year thus far.
The big guys in the Philadelphia bullpen, Papelbon, Adams, Bastardo, have been good. The rest of their bullpen not so much. Popped up and Rollins drifting to the line. Cowgill retired 1 away. So 1 out and nobody on. Mets will be heading to Miami to start a series tomorrow night. Let's check in with Kevin.
Well, the Marlins offense has been, in a word, putrid, Gary. Now, they've got 61 runs coming into today. That's worst in the league. That's worse by 15 runs than anybody else. And there's a number of problems. They're not getting on base only 28% of the time. That's also the worst in Major League Baseball. And at the center of that, of course, is their slugger, Giancarlo Stanton. Now, you mentioned earlier today, he did hit a monstrous home run last night, 472 feet. Did hit another home run today, and he's 2 for 2 today with 3 RBIs, by the way, so maybe he's getting hot just in time for the Mets. I'm sure they're thrilled about that. But there is a tendency for Stanton that maybe this is kind of normal for him. You know, we've seen Ike Davis with a real slow start 2 years in a row. Well, Stanton, until that home run last night, he had gone 72 at-bats without a home run. He actually went 69 at-bats before his first home run last year, so maybe for him, they come in bunches. Guys?
Well, that'll be the test for Matt Harvey tomorrow night, as he makes the start in the opening game of the series. Matt coming off a no decision in his last start after 4 straight wins to begin the year.
Well, Stanton has what Ronnie calls slider bat speed, and I agree. Can't let a big guy like that extend his hands. You got to pound him. If you got the 97, 95 plus fastball, you got to stay in his pots and pans, crowd him.
But I think the bigger question, when you go into a series against the Marlins, and you've got the Joe Mahoneys and the Austin Kearnses and the Rob Brantleys hitting around Stanton in the batting order. You just can't let him beat you. Tejada hits one deep to left center. Back goes Brown looking up, and it's off the wall. Tejada again came close to his first home run of the year. Instead settles for his second double of the game.
That is the first hit given up to a right-hander by Bastardo this season. 0 for 14 right-handers. First hit. You know what we'd say in the Tejada, we'd say track power. you'd be needling him in the clubhouse.
Well, he's got 7 doubles now, and the Mets have just their 3rd hit of the game, their first since the first inning. And now Daniel Murphy, who's gone 0 for this series, 0 for 11 today, 2 ground balls and a strikeout, as the Mets try to strike back here in the bottom of the 7th. Murphy takes away for ball 1. But you know what I mean about Stanton? I mean, with that offense, you just can't give him a chance.
If he's in a spot where he can hurt you.
Right.
You know, first inning he's up with no one on, or even a guy pitched to him. But late in the game, no.
Now Bastardo behind on Murphy, 2-0. Murphy can get on, then David Wright could come to the plate as the tying run. Ruiz out to provide some counsel for Bastardo. There's your pitching matchup for tomorrow. Matt Harvey makes his 6th start of the year, and young Jose Fernandez, who's pitched a lot better than his 0-2 record, will be on the mound for the Marlins. So now Murphy with a 2-0 advantage against Bastardo. And ball 3. Matt, just get used to being the center of attention.
So you don't want to walk and get the potential tying run to the plate in David Wright.
Murphy's 2 for 6 against Bastardo. He'll be taking a pitch here, and there's a strike. 3-1.
No one up in the Philly bullpen. It's on Bastardo to hold this 3-run lead.
Tejada at second with 1 out. And Murphy pops one up. Mayberry makes the call. 2 out. A lost series for Daniel Murphy.
It happens.
Now.
It happens to the best. So now David Wright comes up and he can't beat you. Can't tie the ball game up.
David's 1 for 2 today. Drove in the Mets' only run with a first inning single. He's also drawn a walk. 0 for 4 in his career against Bastardo. And Wright takes a slider for a strike. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Quiznos, featuring their new chicken fajita sub only at Quiznos.
Two good pitches right there. A slider down and in, and a fastball in. David thought it was inside. Wants it away. Knee high. Oh, he brought it back, but it's inside. Nope, it got the corner. That's a strike.
Well framed by Ruiz. So now Bastardo with a 2-strike advantage on Wright. And David has to pull the ejector switch.
And that's a little Chen. Mr. Chen. Hey, nothing wrong with that. Hey. Not a game for the lighthearted.
Or the faint-hearted. One-two from Bastardo. And David hits one out to right, but right there is Nix was playing shallow to make the play and end the inning. A double and 1 left. We go to the 8th. Phillies 4, Mets 1.
Well, Brandon has been pitching well. He gave it the 3-run home run on the hanging slider in that Dodgers series, but otherwise he's been outstanding.
Last pitched on Thursday, got a couple of fly ball outs against LA. This was a 1-1 game going to the 7th. John Neese retired the first 2 batters in the top of the 7th. Lance Nix hit a foul pop-up that John Buck couldn't quite catch. Nix, given a second life, got a base hit. So did Jimmy Rollins. Scott Atchison came in. That enabled Charlie Manuel to send up Ryan Howard as a pinch hitter, and Howard unloaded a 2-run double that changed this game. Now Carlos Ruiz will lead off in the 8th. Ruiz got his first base hit of the year his last time up. An opposite field double. He's 1 for 3 in his season debut.
Howard's got 7 RBIs in this series.
Mike Adams getting ready in the bullpen after Bastardo worked a scoreless 7th for the Phillies.
Yep, and the Mets will have well, Buck and Bird with Duda in the middle. And Adams is their 8th inning guy. Yep. Their bridge to Papelbon.
Ruiz hits one deep to center. Cowgill back on the warning track and is there to make the catch. So Ruiz hitting that ball nearly 400 feet. 1 long out to start the 8th. Looks pretty good for a guy who hasn't played.
Well, he's been on rehab. He's been swinging.
There
was nothing wrong with him physically.
Right. But he wasn't swinging against Major League pitching. You know, sometimes you never know. Remember the year, I think it was 87, where there was collusion in the offseason?
Yes.
And Tim Raines wasn't able to play until May 1st because he re-signed with his old team. And his first game, I think he had a couple of triples, a home run. It was against the Mets at Shea. Some guys just come out of the box ready to go, no matter what the obstacle.
The first time I got hurt, when I pulled my hamstring, I believe it was 87 in St. Louis. I came back my first game in Pittsburgh, I remember.
Dominic Brown lines one to center, and Cowgill out to play this one on hop.
First
one
time,
out hit for Brown.
First time up, I forget who it was off of. I hit a double down the bullet down the right field line. I hadn't played in a month, and hit a bullet down the right field line RBI. And then I off Rucker. What was Rucker's first name? The left-hand pitcher, old Cardinal. Was it Jim or Jeff?
Jim Rucker?
No, Rucker. John Rucker. He was a relief pitcher for the Cardinals, left-hander, side armor. With the Pirates. 8th inning, Davey gave me a 3-0 hit sign in a tied ball game, and I hit a 2-run homer to win the game. My first game back and out, not playing in around a month. I remember that. You know, you don't forget those days.
Davey treated you like a power hitter.
I went to Davey and I said after the game, I went to his office. I said, "Why in the heck did you give me the 3-0 hit sign? I had to take a double look at it." Because I knew you had it. I knew you were going to do it.
Well,
I said, well, thank you.
The thing about the 3-0 hit sign is you don't have to swing.
Right.
But did you feel obligated?
No, it was a nice fat fastball. That's what it was.
Mayberry's 0 for 3 today. A couple of fly balls and a strikeout. Brown has not attempted a stolen base. He's at first with 1 out. Pitchers due up next. There goes Brown, and Mayberry launches one toward the left field corner, and that's down for an extra base hit. Brown being waved home. The relay by Tejada, and safe at the plate is Dominic Brown on the double by Mayberry, and it's 5-1 Philadelphia. So 3 batters, and they've all hit the ball hard against Brandon Lyon.
Well, the runner's moving. Charlie Manuel pushing all the right buttons.
Well, we talked during the open today about his outfielders, Brown and Mayberry, who hit home runs yesterday back-to-back, and today they combined for a run.
So that is a hit and run, folks, and you got the lead, and that's nicely done. Beautifully executed, makes the manager look like a genius.
So Mayberry with an RBI double, and now Ezekiel Carrera will bat for the pitcher, who's hitting in the 8 hole.
They got Carrera from the Indians, didn't they, right at the end of spring training?
Carrera began his minor league career in the Mets organization. Speedy left-hand batter. And this one's hit in the air to left center. Chasing Cal go back a few strides. And there are 2 out. That is 10 putouts for Mets center fielders today. Lagares had 8, and now Calgill with a couple. So now Nix will bat for the second time. He had the at bat that really turned this game in the 7th inning. Hit the foul pop up that Buck dropped, then got the pinch hit single that set the wheels in motion for a 3-run 7th. Mets will bring in the left-hander to face him as Scott Rice comes in. So Lyon will take his exit. Call to the bullpen is brought to you by Sprint. 5-1 Phillies in the 8th. We'll be right back.
The workhorse out of the pen here. He's got the most games now, 14 games out of the bullpen. That leads the group down there.
Well, here is your play of the game. 7th inning tie score.
Well, Atchison brought in, get the big out, and Charlie Manuel counters with Ryan Howard, and Howard, as a pinch hitter, delivers a 2-run double for
Play
his
as skipper. Play of the game brought to you by Mazda. If it's not worth driving, it's not worth building. So Lance Nix, who set that whole inning in motion with a 2-out pinch hit single, gets his second turn at bat with a runner at second and 2 down. Scott Rice worked 2 full innings in yesterday's game through 30 pitches, but being asked to just get 1 batter today. John Neese went 6 2/3. He was charged with 3 runs and 5 hits. A very tough luck loss for Neese if it winds up that way. He certainly pitched better than that. Nix hooks the breaking ball foul, and it's 0-1. Scott Atchison gave up the big hit to Howard and another one to Chase Utley. 1 run charge to him, the other 2 to Neese, although the 2 runs to Neese will be unearned because of the error by Buck that prolonged the inning. Won't make Neese feel any better. Nothing and 2 to Nix. Toward the middle of the diamond, Murphy flashing over, makes the quick toss to get the diving Nix. I don't know why he did that, but he's out, and that retires the side. Mayberry with an RBI double extends the Philly lead. Slows you down when you dive. lesson for all you little leaguers.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
Field after pinch hitting, and Mike Adams will pitch for the Phils.
Well, Adams is their setup guy. Came up with Milwaukee back in '04. San Diego, Texas. He's a fine pitcher. He's got a career earned run average of 2.28 going back, what, since '04. He's been around a while. That is outstanding.
One of the better setup men in the game. And really an important acquisition for the Phillies, who had trouble getting to Jonathan Papelbon last year. They've had some troubles early this season as well, but not the fault of Mike Adams. John Buck will lead off for the Mets in the home 8th inning. Mets have been held to just 1 run and 3 hits today. Hamels went 6, allowed a run on 2 hits despite 6 walks. He struck out 8. Antonio Bastardo worked the 7th, no runs and 1 hit. And now Adams for the 8th. Buck is 0 for 3 today. 1 for 9 in this series. And takes outside for ball 1. Well, R.A. Dickey made his return to New York today. It was going great for R.A. until Lyle Overbay had a 2-run homer against him in the 7th. And that was enough to beat him. Yankees 3, Blue Jays 2. Dickey falls to 2 and 4.
Hard luck loss.
Little tapper toward third, right at the bag, and Young picks it up in foul ground.
So Toronto's sitting there at the outhouse of the American League East.
9 and 17.
Wow, last place.
They did a lot of deals. They brought in a lot of talent. Of course, they lost Reyes for a couple of months. That does not help. They've been the champions of the waiver wire. They've already made 8 waiver claims, including Aaron Laffey, who started the opening game of that series.
Wow.
After the Mets let him go.
Shocking.
Well, you have to say the Yankees have really outperformed expectations, considering all the people that they've had hurt.
Yeah, they're 15 and 9. You can't complain about that. They find ways to win.
The thing that's been in their way is the fact that the Red Sox are off to an even better start. 17 and 7 coming into the day. And for the Red Sox, a lot of things have gone right, but most importantly, their top 2 starting pitchers have been lights out.
Well, they've been scoring runs too, hitting home runs.
And David Ortiz has come back, and after missing the last couple of months last year and sitting out the first few weeks this year, he has been impossible to get out. I think he was hitting over 500 coming into the day.
Just got to watch his mouth. There's a microphone in front of him.
As long as the FCC says it's okay, who are we to say?
Oof. Think of a better word. Better adjective.
Well, he's not a trained professional like you.
Not up on his classics.
2-2 to Buck, leading off in the home eighth. John fouls back that fastball.
Big rip. Buck takes a healthy cut. Which, with 2 strikes, that's going to make him prone to striking out. But if you look at Buck, Buck's got 15 strikeouts. That's not bad.
2 today.
So 17. That's not great, but you know, guys strike out more today. It's a different ball game.
Well, the Mets had that stretch of 5 straight games where they struck out 10 or more. That came to an end on Friday night. But we've talked about it, and we talked about it with Dave Hudgens when we had him on Friday. You know, this approach that the Mets have, which, you know, they say is not about necessarily taking a lot of pitches, but more about identifying pitches they can hit. But the upshot is they do take a lot of pitches, run a lot of deep counts. But if you're running deep counts, you're going to draw a lot of walks, but you're also going to strike out a lot. Rollins with an easy play and gets Buck one away. And I think there's been a much greater acceptance of the strikeout as a consequence of that style of hitting.
It's more of a love affair with the home run. You had that steroid era, and I'm sure it's not over with. I'm sure there's a sprinkle here and there of cheaters out there, but the home run is very seductive, and I've always of the feeling that if you strike out, you're out. You put the ball in play, anything can happen. A team can make an error. You can get on base. You can't get on base if you whiff.
Duda today 0 for 2 and a walk. Well, there's nothing wrong with hitting home runs. The question is, what do you sacrifice to get there? And some teams, and you look at Oakland in particular, have been very, very successful at winning with players who are limited in other ways, but are home run hitters.
Well, I've played for 2 world championship teams, entirely different. One a speed team that hit and ran, did a lot of hit and running, a lot of speed, obviously.
And an AstroTurf team.
An AstroTurf team. We still would have been good on the grass.
Rollins retreating and reaches to grab it. 2 out.
We were a team with a lot of average hitters, guys that hit for average. St. Louis Cardinals, I'm talking about in '82. Willie McGee, myself, George Hendrick, Tommy Herr, Ozzie Smith. Darrell Porter was really the only guy that struck out on that lineup. And Oberkfell, and having to put hits together, but we had so much speed and we had clutch hitters as opposed to playing here with the '86 Mets. I know what it's like to have 3 guys in the lineup that can hit 20 plus, 25 plus, and get you back in a ball game with one swing.
Here's Marlon Byrd, who's 0 for 2 and a walk. Well, Sandy Alderson has cited it often, and it's true, that the team that out-homers the opposition wins over 70% of the time. The question is, what happens the days when you don't hit home runs?
True.
And you have other ways to win.
How do you factor in good pitching? If you've got good pitching, it neutralizes good hitting. That, to me, is the key to the game. I want a pitching staff, very much like the '69 Mets. I mean, you look at that lineup, the 69 Mets, and you look at the batting averages, and you go, my goodness. And you know what?
They have Leon Jones.
Every time I play in Stratomatic, the 86 Mets in a series, and the 69 Mets, guess who wins? 69 Mets beats us all the time. We have not won the 86 Mets never won a series. The pitching is the big neutralizer. It's tough to beat Seaver and Kuzma.
Gentry and
well, it's doubly tough to beat. It's hard to beat Seaver and Kuzma.
But even the back end of the rotation guys that year, like Cardwell, McAndrew, and McGraw in the bullpen, and Ron Taylor, I mean, they all had terrific years.
Seaver's numbers are off the charts. And Kuzi. They're strikeout guys, too.
Now Adams ahead on Bird 1-2, and he popped it up. Who's going to get it? Young makes the call coming in, and that retires the side. Mets are on 1-2-3 before Mike Adams in the 8th. On to the 9th we go with the Phillies up 5-1. Mets on Twitter and Facebook. Get to Mets.com/connect. Bobby Parnell will pitch for the Mets in the top of the 9th.
Well, there's Bobby's numbers. Only 2 saves. There hasn't been very many opportunities for him. And the one blown save really was that game in Colorado where Tejada threw the ball away, and it should have been 3 for 3. It cost the ball game.
Parnell was the winning pitcher his last time out. That was the Jordani Valdespin walk-off grand slam on Wednesday, which is the last time the Mets won a game. In danger of their 4th straight loss and their first home series sweep of the year. Jimmy Rollins will lead off in the 9th inning. By the way, speaking of connecting, I think Giancarlo Stanton is ready for the Mets' arrival. A home run yesterday, his first of the year. 2 more today, 3 for 3, 4 RBIs, and the Marlins beat the Cubs 6-4.
And starting this series against the Phillies, Stanton was hitting 200. He was in a terrible start.
Well, the Cubs had been pitching well going into that series, but Stanton has found the range the last couple of days.
Always when you go in a slump, it's like the good hitters, someone's going to pay down the road.
Ryan Howard on deck. He has the big hit in this game. In foul ground. Wright gives a look, but it's out of play. 1-2 to Rollins.
So a crucial error in this ball game. Back in the 3-run 7th with the pop-up that Buck, tough chance for Buck and a tough call. I gave him an error on a pop-up. David Wright was playing for the pull, way off the line, couldn't get there, and all of a sudden the floodgates opened.
Another pop-up. This one will stay in play for Buck. And this one he's able to secure to get Rollins one away.
This is the play that got it all going. It was 2 outs, inning over. Gave Knicks a second chance. Boom, base hit. Rollins base hit. Exit Nice. Enter Atchison. Enter Howard. Double off the golf sign. The score 2. Utley follows with a single into the gap. And there you go. The inning could have been over, and 3 runs are across.
Video recap brought to you by Nissan. Shop at ChooseNissan.com. That was very well rendered.
I'm telling you, I've just been feeling really good lately. I've taken this herbal supplement that I just feel great. I have mental clarity. I remember things now.
I sense an endorsement coming on.
No endorsement. No endorsement. But I've been feeling great the last, I've been on a week, and I feel just wonderful, and I don't forget things. Simply, I'm very forgetful.
It's a wonderful development.
I always forget to read my picks once in a while. I had to call Greg, our producer, and say, no, on the phone at NYN before at the house. Now we are SNY all 3 games in Florida, right? Because we're wearing our polos.
I'm just glad you don't leave your phone behind anymore.
And you got a birthday coming up tomorrow.
I do. They're starting to add up.
Well, I got the big 6-0.
That's right.
In October. How about that?
That's after the season.
Yep.
We don't get to fet you. 3-0 to Howard. And Parnell throws a strike.
My birthday is easy to remember. There's 2 Hall of Famers in there. Mickey Mantle and Juan Marichal. October 20th.
Should be 3 Hall of Fame.
I don't know about that.
Ooh, into the shift. Parnell fortunate he didn't touch it.
I think he did. I think it tipped his glove.
Let's see.
Yes,
I think you're right.
So it's a 1-6-3 on your scorecard. That would have been a base hit.
Instead, it's 2 out and nobody on. And now Utley coming up. 1 for 4 with that RBI single against Atchison in the 7th. Well, John Nice allowed just 1 run over 6 2/3 today, but that might be enough to beat him. Non-save situation, but Jonathan Papelbon, who hasn't pitched in this series, is getting ready to pitch the bottom of the 9th for the Phillies. And Utley lifts 1 to left. And Duda's right there to retire the side. So Parnell parlays a 1-2-3 top of the 9th. Now the Mets come up for their last chance to try to avoid getting swept by the Phils.
Well, Papelbon is their closer, the former Red Sox. What is it, third year here now with the Phils? 4 for 4 in a year in saves, and we'll always remember him giving up that home run in Philadelphia to Valdespin. They got Valdespin on the map in a hurry.
Ike Davis will lead off in the last of the ninth for New York. Papelbon hasn't a lot of run in his last 7 innings of work. He's perfect in save opportunities so far. In fact, he's perfect in his career in April. 55 for 55, but this is a non-save chance for him. Second year with the Phillies.
Second? I'm okay. That's right. See, I got forgetful again.
No, it's just it's one of those things. Just a trivial piece of information that really doesn't add up to a whole lot. Ike is 0 for 2 and a walk today. The Phillies are trying to beat the Mets here at Citi Field for the 6th straight time. They went 6-3 here last year and trying to sweep this series. So they have found a home away from home here at Citi Field. Funny thing is, the Mets beat the Phillies 7 of 9 at Citizens Bank Park last year. And Ike swinging at the first pitch he sees. It's a rocket, but right to Utley for the first down.
Well, you know, it's a good at bat right there. And you, as a hitter, I like. It's going to be if the manager doesn't give you the take sign. What's Papelbon? Got a 4-run lead. He's going to throw you a fastball. Here, hit it.
Now Mike Baxter will bat for the pitcher, hitting in the 8th hole. Baxter started the last 2 games in right field leading off, went 1 for 7. Perhaps more troublingly, dropped a fly ball yesterday in right field after having one fall in the twilight on Friday night. And Baxter takes a strike. So it's Hernando Valdespin waiting on deck to bat for Colin Cowgill. So the Mets, unless they have a big rally in them in the next few moments, are going to limp out of here and head down to Miami with 4 straight losses. And Baxter pops one up. And an easy play for Dominic Brown for the second out. So very quickly, Papelbon retires the first 2 here in the bottom of the 9th. And now Valdespin will come up to pinch hit, trying to keep the Mets alive.
Well, the king of the pinch hitters, Mr. Valdespin. Only 1 for 9 this year with an RBI.
Coming up next on SNY, it's WB Mason postgame live. Next on Picks, bloopers. Well, the Mets have scored just 5 runs in this series. They got shut out on 3 hits by Kyle Kendrick Friday night. Managed 4 runs and 8 hits yesterday. Just 1 run and 3 hits today.
2 of them to Tejada, 2 doubles.
David Wright had the other hit, driving in the Mets run with a first inning single. Tejada hoping for another chance on deck. Papelbon trying to put on the finishing touches. And he goes inside to Valdespin, 2-1. And Valdespin watches the splitter wide. It's 3-1.
I know he's taking him deep, and you know, maybe he's looking to keep his ERA down. But come on, 4-run lead, 2-1 splitter, throw 95 plus. Here's some cheddar. Take a swing at it. I got 8 gloves. I'm repeating myself, but I'm going to always repeat myself because I see it all the time. It's ridiculous. There. Gosh almighty, this guy throws some smoke.
So the Mets are down to their final strike. 3-2 to Valdespin with 2 out. I always think it's harder for Papelbon to get a good death stare going when it's a non-save chance. And Valdespin lifts one to center, and that should do it. As Mayberry puts it away, Papelbon works a 1-2-3 ninth, and the Phillies complete a 3-game sweep of the Mets, holding the Mets to just 5 runs in the 3 games. As Ryan Howard came off the bench to deliver a 2-run double to put the Phillies in front, and the Mets couldn't manage much of a response as the Phillies win 5-1.
Well, a homestand that started out very promising with the Mets taking 2 out of 3 from the Nationals coming out of the Arctic North and that horrible road trip, and then ends disappointing, losing 2 out of 3 to the Dodgers and now getting swept by the Phillies. I guess on to Miami, a team that is really struggling, and maybe they can get some remedy down there in the 3-game series against the Marlins.
Game summary brought to you by your Tri-State BMW Centers. First win of the year for Cole Hamels. First 4-game losing streak of the year for the Mets. Phillies complete the sweep with a 5-1 win. We'll come back with more from Citi Field in just a moment.